While in many cases horror cinema has suffered from several years of the same played out Hollywood formula, recently the tides have started to shift, and it seems that some of the most creative and innovative horror directors are stepping up their game for the empowerment of the genre as a whole. 2019 is set to be the year of horror cinema reigniting its path, carving its way to the top of the pile as a weighty contender of the cinematic form. If you've seen part 1 of this video, you'll know that Stephen King's horror classics are back to form with Pet Sematary and It Chapter 2, and Jordan Peele's sophomore appearance with Us is on course to be one of the most exciting horror films of the year. But there's much more where that came from. Hello horror fans, and once again welcome back to the Scariest channel on YouTube, top 5 scary videos. As per usual, I'll be your horror host Jack Finch, as today we curiously take a look at the top 5 horror movies coming out in 2019, part 2. Roll the clip.
Christian says that you've got some special thing planned.
Yeah, it's like a crazy 9-day festival. It only happens every 90 years.
I could talk all day about how stoked I am for that particular clip, but you'll have to stick around to find out more. Also, of course, this list is going to have a slight tinge of personal bias because there are some horror franchises bringing out some potentially decent remakes, but these films are the ones that I'm most excited for, and hopefully you will be too. Kicking off at number 5, Ma.
Thanks for these earrings.
What happened last night?
You don't remember, do you?
Are you guys mad at me for something?
I don't want to hang out at Ma's anymore.
Don't make me drink up.
Well, where do we even begin with this horror show? Because if the trailer is anything to go by, Ma could very well be one of the most messed up films of the year in what appears to be an absolutely insane mashup of Jordan Peele's Get Out and Curtis Hanson's 1992 classic, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Slated to be released in May 2019, Ma is a psychological horror starring the show-stopping Octavia Spencer, as well as being co-written and directed by Tate Taylor, the man responsible for 2011's The Help and 2016's The Girl on the Train. Spencer plays a woman named Sue-Ann, a quiet loner who keeps herself to herself in a sleepy suburban Ohio town. After a seemingly innocent gesture, Sue-Ann agrees to buy booze for some local teenagers and then offers to let them drink in the comfort of her disused basement so that they won't be tempted to drink and drive. Pretty sweet deal, right? Well, the kindness of strangers isn't always as it may seem, and Sue-Ann's hospitality soon turns into a frantic obsession. If Octavia Spencer's acting clout is anything to go by, this film is going to be brilliantly painful to watch. Also, it's got Juliette freaking Lewis in it too, so it's got to be good. Coming in at number 4, The Nightingale.
Bloody dangerous riding with that. Blow your head off.
You need to move.
Well, you get a bit of a guarantee with this one because The Nightingale has already seen a limited release at the Venice International Film Festival, as well as its premiere at the 2018 Adelaide Film Festival. And spoilers, it's pretty damn good, if not one of the most harrowing and graphically violent films in the last few years. As in, it's really painful to watch. But violence is contextual, and this film really has a few contextual scars to leave. Also, it's the sophomore feature for Jennifer Kent, writer and director of 2014's showstopper The Babadook, so it's got a bit of a pedigree behind it. Set in 1825, The Nightingale follows the story of Claire, a young Irish convict played by Aisling Franciosi, in a colonial thriller that sees her chasing a British soldier through the rugged Tasmanian wilderness, hell-bent on revenge for a terrible act of violence and trauma committed against her family. On the way, she enlists the service of an Aboriginal tracker named Billy, played by Bakelai Ganambar, who is marked by the trauma of his own violence-filled past. Listen, much like The Babadook, this isn't a horror film in the conventional sense. It's a period piece, it's a revenge thriller, but its very DNA is built upon the true mark of horror. Swinging in at number 3, The Lighthouse. And sadly, Robert Eggers is playing these cards incredibly close to his chest, and there has been next to nothing for this film in regard to actual footage. But despite that, this is personally one of my most anticipated horror films of the year. For one reason, and one reason alone: my boy, old Bobby Eggers, who despite only ever having one horror film beneath his belt, has quickly become one of my favourite directors in horror cinema. Oh, that one film beneath his belt? Yeah, it's 2015's The Witch. I'll say no more. Either way, I'm going to hedge my bets and haphazardly stake my claim that Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse is going to be one of the most captivatingly original horror flicks of this year, and, well, because of 3 things. 1, it's Bobby Eggers. 2, it's set in 20th century New England. And 3, it's in black and white. Hey, that sounds like a winning combination to me. Robert Eggers made it very clear with The Witch that he doesn't make genre films unless they're worth making, and 2019's The Lighthouse hopefully will be no exception. It stars Willem Dafoe as a lighthouse keeper named Old, which is already awesome, and co-stars Robert Pattinson, who's slowly making a name for himself as a showstopper in his own right. That whole Twilight thing. If you can't tell, I'm very, very excited. Next up at number 2, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
This summer from Guillermo del Toro.
And if you've already reached the conclusion that 2019 is going to be an incredible year for horror, and you ain't seen nothing yet because we've only just begun. And that's a Bachman Turner overdrive into a Carpenter's reference if I've ever heard one. But yeah, how could we ever leave out the main man himself, the legendary Guillermo del Toro, who's back up to his old tricks once again, and horror cinema is all the better for it. In the past, del Toro has been a bit of a free win for studios to sell movies by attaching his name to it, and it hasn't always worked, but this one is different. Written by del Toro, further adapted from a screenplay by Dan and Kevin Hageman, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is an adaptation in itself of the awesome children's book series of the same name by Alvin Schwartz. Also, it's been directed by Andre Overdahl, the man behind 2010's Troll Hunter and 2016's surprise horror starring The Autopsy of Jane Doe. There are so many things that just feel right about this film that it's going to be a colossal disappointment if it doesn't all come together. But the talent is already there, the source material is already there, and del Toro seems to be having an incredibly heavy hand in maintaining the legendary horror fantasy direction that we all know and love him for. If the trailer is anything to go by, this film is the stuff of childhood-induced nightmares, and I, for one, can't bloody wait. And finally, coming in at a number 1 spot, Midsommar. I am not going to say this lightly. I am so damn excited about this film that it's criminal. While I think Jordan Peele's Us is going to be a worthy contender, I truly think that Midsommar is going to be the best horror film of 2019. Written and directed by Ari Aster, as in the man responsible for Hereditary, the most anticipated horror film of 2018, if my suspicions are correct, then Midsommar is going to be this generation's The Wicker Man. And if that isn't an accolade, then I'm not entirely sure what is. I must have played this trailer like 20 times, and although I know you should never judge a film by its trailer, I've just got a feeling that everything about this film is right. Despite looking absolutely horrifyingly beautiful, Midsommar is also showcasing some of the best new talent in cinema, namely Florence Pugh of Outlaw King fame and Will Poulter, who, after taking on Black Mirror's Bandersnatch, I'm relatively certain is going to be the most familiar face in cinema. Will Poulter is awesome, guys. The film itself, much in line with The Wicker Man, features a young couple who travel to a remote Swedish village for a festival that occurs only every 90 years. However, that beautiful idyllic landscape soon reveals a much more malevolent motive, and this particular horror fan can't quite wait to find out exactly what that is. Remote communities, cults, ritualistic sacrifice, summertime, entrails, violent intentions, old gods. Yeah, mark my words, this one is going to be good. Well, there we have it, horror fans. That's my list for the top 5 horror movies coming out in 2019, part 2. Please let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below, as well as any choice picks that you think we should be aware of. If you can't tell, I'm pretty excited. Before we depart today's top 5 scary video, let's take a look at some of your most entertaining comments from over the past few days. First up, Kishi Banger says, "Hi top 5 scary squad, I just discovered this channel a few days ago and have been binge watching as much content as possible. Question of mine would be, what was the recent horror movie you didn't like? Thank you." Thank you. And hey Kishi, welcome aboard. Glad to have you here as a brand new horror fan. Also, great question, and although there are quite a few, I'd have to say Bird Box was the most disappointing horror film I've seen recently. I say horror in inverted commas because although it was marketed as a horror film, it really wasn't. I hate not liking Sandra Bullock because she's awesome, but yeah, that film just completely fell flat on its face. Great question though. Well, there we have it, horror fans. Remember, more questions like that. If you're a fan of this video, you know the drill by now. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button as well as that subscribe button. We'll be seeing you in the next one. Cheers for sticking around all the way until the end. As per usual, I've been your horror host, Jack Finch. You've been watching top 5 scary videos, and until next time, you take it easy.